Hey, what's up, guys? Hello, everybody in Facebook land and YouTube. Um, I just wanted to talk a little bit today about the C15 engine, the cat motor, 475 horsepower. This one in particular we're talking about is a C15 single turbo MBN engine, 475 horsepower. Okay. I want to address some fuel pressure issues, boost, and valve tap. Okay, and I want to help you guys get your engine running perfect again like it used to. Alright, so what I want to get on with is, first off, nobody knows what kind of boost a C15 is supposed to have. 475 horsepower. Okay, some of you guys don't have a boost gauge, some of you guys do. Under normal circumstances, when that engine is running like it should, you should be pulling 34 psi at 1600 RPMs. Okay? When stuff starts going wrong, some stuff starts wearing out, you're going to notice that your boost is going to drop to 25, 26 psi. And your fuel mileage, maybe it'll stay the same, maybe it won't. On an average, you should be getting 5.5 to 5.7. Okay. Now, of course, you could be getting more on the empty side or bobtail. All right, so let's jump right into this. First off, you have an engine with 1,000,000 miles on it, just per se. Has 1,000,000 miles on it, a little over 1,000,000. It's got a little valve tip to it. It's not pulling like it used to, but it does get down the road. Okay, so first thing we're going to identify is the easiest stuff. Have the air filters been changed? Yes or no? Okay, let's say they have. First thing you're going to do is you're going to check your fault codes. Okay, you turn the cruise control off and you hit the Excel button and you count the light flashes. Okay, there'll be a check engine light that you count the flashes. Alright, and there are ways for you to look that up online to see what those fault codes mean. Okay, now let's just say, for example, you are not getting any fault codes. Alright, first area you're going to go to is where the main fuel filter is on a C15, which is on the driver's side. You will have a fuel filter and you will have a water separator. The water separator is on the frame, the fuel filter is on the engine. And on either side of that fuel filter is a check valve. Alright? One check valve controls the fuel pressure to the engine. The other check valve holds the pressure to the injectors when you shut the truck off. So if you have a problem starting your truck every morning or when it sits for a few days, it doesn't want to start, this is usually the culprit. Okay, this check valve. What's happening is it wears out and it lets the fuel trickle out of the injectors. Okay, the other valve controls the fuel pressure to the injectors. What happens? That valve wears out, and eventually it sends all the fuel to the bypass, and that will also give you a issue where your fuel isn't getting in the engine to pull the hills. The other issue is go to your turbo, like for an example for this video, which I want to make sure I say I'm not a certified mechanic. I do turn my own wrenches, and I've done so for 10 years. And this engine has never broke down except for one time in 10 years. So I'm pretty proud of that. But anyway, so go to your single turbo and make sure that nobody did anything to modify. Make sure that the wastegate is working like it should. Okay? Make sure nobody's done anything to it. Also make sure to check the air line that goes to the wastegate and make sure it's working properly. Alright? So, we check all those things. What I would do is I would change the check valves at the fuel filter. Okay, nobody really talks about them, but those things are about $20 a piece, $30 a piece at the Kenworth dealer. Well worth the expense to change, and you will notice a difference most of the time in the way it runs. The other thing you want to replace is behind all that. Okay, it's a solenoid, and that solenoid checks and keeps track of the fuel temperature going into that engine. When it doesn't get a valid temperature on that fuel, it's like it derates the engine and it puts it in a protection mode. And what it does is it sends all the fuel back to the tank because it doesn't want to blow the engine up and melt the valves. You want to change that out too. So those are three things right there, right at the fuel filter, that are well worth changing. Cost you $120, okay? The other thing that's well worth an investment is the boost sensor. Boost sensor is a little pricey, but that sucker tells the engine how much pressure it needs, how much fuel it needs. If that thing ain't working right, you ain't gonna get no power, man. Alright? So, the last thing I want to talk about next is going to be your valve tick, the valve tap. A lot of guys say, well, it sounds like it's getting ready to drop a valve. Well, it's probably getting ready to drop a valve because the bridge keeps beating on the top of it and it's wearing it out. Alright? You have the most common things that happen on an engine hitting 1,000,000 miles is the rocker arms start to wear, the bridge wears out, or the roller itself that rides on the camshaft gets a little bit of play in it. Okay? So let's say you're going down a hill and all you're hearing is valve tapping when it's going down a hill. Alright? Or it's valve tapping in between shifts, but not under full acceleration. Alright? That's the sign of either that wheel has some play in it that rides on the camshaft, or you have a button that sits on the bridge that has play in it, or the bridge is wore out. Now, here's the biggest thing with the bridges. Number one, the bridges do wear out, and they have to be installed a certain way. Alright? So, if you turn a bridge upside down, you will see that one end has a circle, a full circle. The other end looks like an egg. Okay? The end with the full circle gets put on the valves facing the exhaust manifold. The egg-shaped end has to go at the camshaft end. Okay? All the way across all the cylinders. Okay? You can then do your own valve adjustment. 15 thousandths on the intake, 30 thousandths on the exhaust. Relatively easy to do, and you can do it yourself. Okay? That should solve your valve tick problem. One other thing is you may run into a situation where injectors may wear out. You can rebuild just the solenoid on an injector. If you could find a bad injector with a good solenoid, they can be interchanged out. I've had to do that. And let's see, there was one other thing. No, I think that should be it. So I want to make sure I say to you guys, okay, so the last thing is, if you do all these things and you're still only pulling 25 or 26 psi, I suggest you get the ECM off the truck and take it to a dealer and have them plug it in and find out what's showing up on these fault codes. Okay? Because sometimes all it is the ECM is getting ready to go. Okay? And what's common with the C15s When the ECM is getting ready to go, on the driver side, that's what it's called. There's different sections of the ECM. The driver side of the ECM gets ready to go. It won't operate properly. The engine runs all kinds of goofy things and does goofy stuff, okay? And it'll flash you a code of 74, 75, 76. When it does those things, I promise you, it's not anything in the engine. It's the ECM. 74, 75, 76. Okay? Don't waste your time. Pull the computer off and go buy another one. So, under full boost, 1600, 34 psi. 1700, you're going to get 35. You might see 36. But that should solve all your problems. Do me a favor, please. As I said, I'm not a certified mechanic. I'm just trying to help a fellow brother out. Also, like me on Facebook if you would, please. J.Myers Transport, and give me a like. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.